Hi, I'm Patricia Allingham Carlson, and this is my video of how I painted Lights at Night. Lights at Night is a painting that was driven by a competition. We have many wonderful organizations in my area, one of them being the Phillips Mill Community Association, which was established a long time ago. We're going to say about 1929 in an old grist mill that was built around circa 1755. Beautiful grounds. Interesting old building. They have a yearly, very prestigious art show. They have a yearly competition to do a signature image to represent and advertise this art show. So I decided to try to enter it. Why not? All you could do is try. I hope you enjoy the video. Give it a thumbs up. Let's paint. I began with a random blurred underpainting where I put down colors onto wet paper, turned it 4 different ways, and then did it again on another piece of paper. This often gives me some very interesting ideas for color combinations that I wouldn't come up with on my own. Out of several created that day, I chose this one to do the Phillips Mill picture on for the competition. I began by using white conte crayon and white ink and pen to sketch on the colored ground. I've been in this competition, and I've been in the art show. I've been honored to be in the art show and included in it. So I have taken a number of reference pictures so I could look at them, draw the old mill, and I decided to draw it at night. I put a moon into the picture, and at nighttime, for the opening for the art show, there's tents and lights all around the back. Inside is the wonderful artwork that you can peruse. Outside is hors d'oeuvres, drinks, wine, socializing, and announcing of different people's winners and categories. It's a very festive event. So that is what I'm trying to show here. I've just sketched in the tents. And this is from the photograph I took the year before. There are caterers' tables set up under the tents where scrumptious little goodies are given out and different drinks can be chosen. Everything's lit up gaily and brightly. Now what I'm doing is I'm putting down the colors, I'm putting down the outlines, and then I'm going back and making some of them thicker. I'm smearing them around with my finger. I could be using a brush, but when I start to paint and I get inspired, I just want to get in there and get the work done. So I am using my fingers to paint. The tents coming in, the outline of the old grist mill is in there, and I also begin to paint in some of the tree outlines because this is in a beautiful natural setting by a stream, which I guess ran the grist mill many, many years ago. And beautiful old trees on the property as well. There are huge windows on one side of the grist mill, of Phillips Mill. Many, many panes. And that's what I'm sketching in right now. This building has been sketched so many times by many talented artists. So I'm trying to come up with my own unique form of doing so. and having a lot of fun as I work. There are many different angles coming out from this old mill. This is a chimney. There's a small addition coming out from the side. It's by no means an uncomplicated structure for me to draw anyway, maybe for somebody else. And then the trees that grow all around, the foliage and the trunks and the forms. This is what I'm working with and trying to suggest with some branches and some leaves. I'm sketching it in with my white ink pen tip, and then I'm blending it out with my fingertips as I go. So this is really a mixed media painting. It has watercolor, but it also has acrylics. The white ink is acrylics. There is some white conte crayon, which is a form of pastel use. And then there's going to be a lot more watercolor. In such a loose painting as this, you could see where you would need to have a strong structure for the architecture that is part of it. Other things like trees and people and floppy tents can be floppy, but the architecture needs to be strong. It's been there for several hundred years, and I hope it will be around for many more. At this point, I'm beginning some shading. I have a lot of highlights in, and now I'm starting to shade out where the shadows are going to be. And this will give a lot more strength to my painting as well. The colors that I'm using are sepia and indigo mixed together. In some cases, I'm also using some purple. This gives me a good, strong, dark color that is not black. And I do try to avoid blacks when I'm painting because the color doesn't really add a lot to a painting. Now, there were some black inks used in the random blur painting that was created underneath. I pressed some textures into that blur as well, and I used plastic wrap for that. While it was wet is when I did that. Gave me some marks, some squiggles, some shapes, and I could choose to use them or not to make things like people, seats, trees, plants, stonework, textures. Here I'm drawing in with white ink some of the tables that are set up all through the yard and the trees. People sitting and eating and chatting with other artists and other patrons of the art. Very festive evening, very exciting. I saw that over 600 artworks were entered into this contest, and a very highly esteemed panel of judges, professional artists, had to make choices about how many could even be in it, because space is limited. If you're lucky enough to have your work chosen, you received an invitation to this event, and you could bring a guest. So my work was accepted, and I was there with my guest, and we had a lovely evening. So what I'm doing is slowly bringing out the tree with shading and highlights, the tent, little tables, and next I'll be working on some people milling about the grounds. And that's going to take a long time too. But the whole painting took a long time and I enjoyed it. It was very interesting to see it develop. Now I'm taking my white ink and making very Van Gogh-ish lights all throughout the yard and adorning the edge of the tent. These lights are part of what made the scene so attractive, but also allowed people to see at night. If you look closely, you could see some people starting to form. A man with a white shirt and some black pants. Several people standing by a table getting some food. I loosely formed these people. Some of them got some more detailing later. But my point wasn't to focus on the people, but to focus on the crowd, on the group, and on the spirit of camaraderie which joined everybody there because of their love for art. And that's pretty much what has kept Phillips Mill running for all these years, is the love for art that it espouses and supports. Some people seem to already be there. There was a woman with 2 children. There was a group of people in dark leather. Tall people, short people, people talking and people having a drink. If I saw the form of a person, I would often just go in there with my brush and bring out some details so that now the person stood out. I find it a lot of fun to find little people in a scene actually and bring them out. I'm bringing out some bushes in the front as well. If you stand down by where the stream is and look up at the back of the property, that's the point of view that I'm using for my painting. Can you see the bright yellowish lemony color I'm painting in right now? This is to show some of the vegetation and grasses around the area. To make that color, I used cadmium yellow and mixed it with some white ink. That way it would stand out against the pre-existing dark colors that were already there. Add a touch of lightness and some detail and texture. Plain watercolor would not have shown at all on such a dark ground. With just mixing some of that white ink into it with a varying amount of water will allow some opacity to the watercolor. Now, I suppose Chinese white could have been used as well, but I didn't try it. What I am trying now is I got some branches from outside. I'm arranging them onto the painting to see where some additional trees would look good. The trees were there. I just didn't like the awkward angle that I had captured the branches at with my camera. So I figured to make them look more attractive. After I found some angles I liked, then I copied them onto the painting. I'm back up to the moon and adding a little more white to make it brighter in color. I'm doing the same with some of the lights. At this point, I'm many hours into this painting. I have a cutoff date. Which states that I can only enter up to this certain date, and I don't remember what it was. So I was painting quite a few hours on many of the days here, and I was concentrating very, very hard to try to get the painting to the point where it looked done and it looked correct. All the small touches I'm adding right now are slowly accumulating to bring the painting toward completion. Small dark areas to bring out some lights, some brights to add to bring out some of the existing colors and make them shine a little bit brighter. And rather continual going back and adding more lights so that those areas will stand out in a nighttime picture. As I'm working too, I'm trying to show with all the texture and lights and bright colors some of the magic of history and time passing on year after year of art show and people aspiring to show new things and original things in their art, and then gathering together to celebrate their achievements. And there's a lot of magic just in that and in the history itself. So when you're not sure of exactly where to go next, how do you move on? Do you walk away? Do you take a little break? Do you use the technique that I use with covering up parts of your paper alternately so that you can see what's working in individual sections and what's not? At this point, what you see me doing is going in with darks. Darks to make doorways stand out. Darks to make the nighttime above the people under the tent stand out. Darks to make the foliage on the trees stand out. Where you put darks down next to and around lights, the lights will pop and the darks will retreat. Darks also add some accent and some depth to your picture. And that's what I'm trying to achieve here. I've put down some darks before, and sometimes the colors fade too much, so I will add them again. And I'll add them until they stick to the color point that I want, and then I can leave them. Now up top there over the roof, that's a crooked branch. It's coming off of the big tree to the left that's leaning into the picture. That tree actually is there. It's a beautiful old tree. I'm making that branch that goes over top of the roof stand out with shadows on the top and highlights on the bottom. Highlights from the lights in the grounds and highlights from the light of the moon. And the tree bends over the whole scene almost like a protector. I don't know if it's as old as the mill, or younger, or even older, but it looks like it's attached or has a fondness for the mill. But that's me being fanciful. Detailing the people and their clothing a little bit more, and I'm really getting close to being done here. I'm doing my evaluation with covering up alternate sides. It sometimes makes areas which are needy pop. And when I see such a need, I'm right in there with my brush to fix it before I forget. There I am spraying water. I blocked it at first with the paper, and now you could see me blocking it with my hand. I'm trying to add some extra color to some areas. I'm also trying to make sure that my perspective is done correctly. But when I spray the water, that means generally I'm going to add some color, but I want it to be floaty and misty and not sharp and in one spot. Or I'm trying to soften the color that is there. That addition I keep going back to gave me a lot of trouble with the angle. I did eventually get it to my satisfaction. But I'm on it for about the 5th time there. When my painting was done and signed, I took a nice photograph and sent it off to the competition at Phillips Mill for the signature image for 2022. Guess what? My painting Lights at Night won! And it was the signature image for this past year's annual members competition. celebration of the arts at Phillips Mill. Boy, was I excited. I think I was teaching an art class when I got the announcement on the telephone. And when I hung up the phone, I actually screamed in my class. But I was very excited, and it was a happy scream. And now I am going to find a place and sign this painting, and it's going to be done. And I told you what happened next. I hope you enjoyed my video, Lights at Night, painting of the grounds and the art opening at Phillips Mill Grist Mill, River Road, New Hope, Pennsylvania. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, please. And why not ring the bell and subscribe below on some of the links so that you won't miss any future videos. There's some other links down below for you to check out as well. I appreciate you writing in and giving me your comments. Somebody wrote for my last video that she would love to see me get more views. And if that's how you feel too, and you feel that my work is worthy of looking at, please help me and promote me. Put me in your social media. Copy my link, which you can do when you try to share here, and post it on your own media. I would appreciate it. Thanks for your support. I'll continue to try to respond to your letters that you write and your different things that you communicate to me. I'll see you next painting. Thanks for being here.